Well, good afternoon. My name is Eli Vega. I'm not a native to Hot Springs, Arkansas, but I have lived here 5 years now. So I love Hot Springs, and I'm here to talk about the art around our quaint, beautiful, natural city. I have lived and traveled throughout the U.S., and I have lived in several destination cities and towns in 4 states. Now, my definition of a destination town or city is that people intend, they intend to go there to visit, either over the weekend or for a 3-day holiday or on vacation, or maybe it's part of their vacation plan to go to these towns and cities. And I say that because now I live here in Hot Springs. I can honestly say that really I have not seen any town or city with this much public art. It's awesome. It's all over our city, all the way from what we call the Northwoods hiking trails and biking trails, all the way along what we call the Hot Springs Creek Greenway. So during this presentation, I'm just going to refer to it as the Greenway for short. But along the Greenway, you see lots of art, sculptures especially. The Greenway is maintained by the city of Hot Springs. So kudos to the city for the Greenway. It currently extends 3 miles. So those of you who live in the city, please take advantage of it. If you haven't discovered it yet, please take advantage of it. It starts from the historic train depot near downtown, all the way south for 3 miles. And soon, within roughly a year or so, it'll extend another mile and it'll connect with Lake Hamilton. If you don't live in the city, I highly encourage you, if you're going somewhere in Hot Springs, Arkansas, it's along the way, please stop here. Please stop by, because it's a beautiful city. It's the only city that I know of that's built within a national park. It's really a quite unique city. And today, I'm going to take you through the city. Most of this little tour that I'm going to take you on will be along the Greenway. So let's get started. Oh, before I show you some beautiful images of some beautiful art here, a lot of people deserve the credit for all the art that we have in the city, but one person in particular jumps out. And her name is, it's not was, but is, she's still with us, and that is Jean W. Wallace. Jean Wallace. I've interviewed her, I met her, and she used to work for the city for many years. And a part of her tenure was in the Parks and Trails Department. And she was a catalyst back in the 80s to revive the art in the city. Her fingerprints are all over town. I'll give you just a couple of examples. One of them is, the Greenway, the art along the Greenway. But also, if you drive around town, especially right in the center of downtown, you will see some beautiful planters with flowers growing from these planters all over the city, especially downtown. Those have Jean's fingerprints. It was her idea to hang these planters just to add some art and artistic art to the city. One more example is here in Hot Springs during St. Patrick's weekend. You'll notice that we have 2 or 3 fountains in town, 3 actually, 3 fountains in town, water fountains. And one of them is colored, actually 2 of them colored green. So the water is green for St. Patrick's Day. And during Christmas, those same fountains are decorated for Christmas. So I might mention her as we go through this little tour, virtual tour. So I'm going to start the tour with the Greenway. So let's go there first. And the first thing I'm going to show you is really just across the road from the Greenway is our beautiful Veterans Memorial Park. And I cannot tell you who is responsible for that or who should get the credit for this beautiful Veterans Park, Memorial Park, but they did a great job with it. And included in the park is this beautiful sculpture of this very patriotic soldier, and it's very well done. I really like this sculpture. And again, it's across the road, technically across from the parking lot, from the Greenway. Now let's jump back across the parking lot to the Greenway itself. Let me show you the art that we have here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's just a beautiful piece. And like I said, I've been to a lot of cities and towns, and you could see something like this easily in New York City, Chicago, LA, Dallas, Texas. Beautiful art. And I like this little whimsical little crooked house here. Something from a novel or a kid's movie. Again, another beautiful piece. This is a very delicate piece. It reminds me of just a delicate, intricate earring or something. As you can see, there's a sign in the background that says "Winds from the South," and that's the title of this piece. Again, very whimsical and cute. Now, I won't say much about every piece of art that I'm going to show here. That would take way too long. I'll just comment on the ones that I really appeal to me and that just resonate with me or that I know something about. This one was difficult to photograph. I photographed it several times during the day, and I just couldn't make it pop. I call it pop. I couldn't make it really stand out because it tended to blend in with the branches of the trees in the background. So I had to go back in the evening and photograph it with flash, and now it really popped. Again, these are all along the Greenway. And this, no offense to the artist, but when I saw this for the first time, it reminded me of apple slices. But that's the beauty of art. You know, it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and so is the translation, the interpretation. And that's what I like about art. You know, I have an art background myself, even though I'm a professional photographer. I love art, any medium of art. I like the fact that we can put something like this together and just leave it up to the viewer to determine what he or she thinks this is all about. Now here's a wide angle photograph. You can see a collection of these pieces I just showed in context of where they are in the city. We're still very close to the old historic train station here. I love this piece, this very patriotic piece, red, white, and blue. And for those of you who live in Hot Springs, this is near the farmers market. If you look at this closely, you can see part of the art is dangling from inside one of those tubes. And you can actually take those pieces that are part of this piece and with your hand actually move them and tap the tubes, and they make a very interesting sound. The next image shows the context in which this piece is in. As you can see, we have these beautiful historic streetlights here in the city that make the city very attractive. I took this in late afternoon, and I liked the shadows, the way the shadows repeat the shapes of this piece. This, as you can see, is Tranquility Garden. And I'm going to take you closer to these benches just to see how intricate and detailed those benches are. Cute. A little squirrel is part of the bench. I love this huge cube. And you can see the creek, Hot Springs Creek, behind it. So they're all within a few yards of the creek. But this one, I've been to Chicago and places like that, and I have seen art like this throughout the city. This is a very big piece. Now, if you continue going down the Greenway south, in the southern direction, you come across what's called Butterfly Garden. And the next 3 or 4 are part of this Butterfly Garden. And next to the Butterfly Garden is this also very unique piece. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is called The Chief and the Maiden. So if the artist is listening, please, I apologize if I got the wrong title here. But as you can see, it's like aluminum. It's really interesting. Within the last couple of years, there's been a great, interesting, and fun development for youngsters and adults in that it's called Majestic Park. And it's a collection of baseball fields. I believe there are 2 or 3 baseball fields, and the whole collection is called Majestic Park. It has a very interesting history here in Hot Springs, including the likes of Babe Ruth. He spent some time here back in the 20s, and other famous baseball players. This used to be where they came for spring practice here in Hot Springs. So this piece that you're looking at is right across from Majestic Park. And you can see the creek in the background. I like this one. I believe, it's not that I believe, I've heard that a 14-year-old Boy Scout was commissioned. He wanted to do something in stone. And Jean, we're going back to Jean Wallace, she said, yeah, go ahead and build it. Build it along the creek. So he built this cairn near Hollywood Park. So it's just fun to know that even someone as young as a 14-year-old got involved with the art here in Hot Springs. We're still along the Greenway here. And I really like this piece. I mean, we don't associate circles with horses. And that's what I love about art. You let your imagination go wild, just let it go crazy. Why not a circle or circles or ovals when you're building a structure like this, a sculpture like this, and call it, I don't know the title of it, but again, it's a horse that has circles. I like it. And then we have the wizard. This is in the middle of Hollywood Park. And Hollywood Park is along the Greenway. And yeah, somebody got creative and just carved out a tree, or part of a tree, called the wizard. At this time of year, there's a group here in town, let me make sure I get the name right, the Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance. It's a nonprofit here in town, and every year, this time of year, they have arts in the park. And as I'm speaking right now, they're having arts in the park downtown today. In the next 10 days, a celebration of art, all kinds of art, music, sculptures, paintings, photography, etc. Anyway, part of this event of arts in the park, a 10-day event, is that they ask people like myself to submit photos or paintings to them to be judged. So a group of judges determines which ones submitted will be the Greenway. And I was so fortunate and so excited that this piece was accepted and admitted. And now if you walk along the Greenway, roughly around 75 yards north of Hollywood Park, along the Greenway, you will find this piece. And I call it New Orleans Pantomime. And it was a double exposure, in-camera double exposure. And the double exposure involves a pantomime, a street performer that you can see, and also a picture of an artist's paintings on pieces of shale. So if you can turn your head to your right, you can see her painting as well. So it takes a little movement around to notice what you're looking at. But I don't want to just talk about my piece. There are, I think, 20 other pieces of art displayed on metal frames, and they're huge. They're like, I want to say 20 by 30 pieces of metal displayed along the Greenway. So for those of you in Hot Springs, please take a walk along the Greenway, roughly 100 yards or so north of the Hollywood Park. And you'll find different, beautiful, great pieces of art along that part of the Greenway. So it's not just my piece, but others as well. And they're all beautiful. Okay, so we're going to stop walking along the Greenway now, and let's just go all over town and see what else we have here. I mentioned Jean Wallace. You can see her planters here. So I included this photograph because it has those beautiful planters. And although we don't usually talk of the city's streetlights as art, but I consider them as art because these streetlights, obviously replicas, but these type of lightings, city lightings, is so old that to me they're a piece of art, just like architecture was back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Those were a work of art. And to me, these streetlights also were a work of art. Now, a little history behind this image. I had to really plan this and do a lot of work. I had to coordinate efforts with the owner of the Ohio Club, which is, by the way, the oldest bar in the state of Arkansas, right here in Hot Springs. It's the oldest bar. The history of it is that Al Capone, you can see a little sculpture of Al Capone here, he used to frequent the Ohio Club. He used to come to Hot Springs as a getaway, just to get away from his business, shall we say. It was a good escape for him to come to Hot Springs. And other gangsters also would come here to Hot Springs just to get away from it all. It was sort of a neutral territory that they respected. And so that's the history behind the Ohio Club. And there's a gentleman in town that owns this beautiful 1929 Ford. So I talked him into driving it to the Ohio Club, and in coordination with him and the Ohio Club owner, we were able to create this interesting image of this beautiful car in front of Arkansas's first bar and nightclub. This is a water fountain. It's a piece of art, as you can see. This goes back to Jean Wallace. I mentioned earlier that Jean Wallace has been quite involved. This is an interesting history behind this beautiful 1897. This was built in 1897. Long story short, sometime, I don't know what years, but there was a very wealthy man from Dallas, Texas, who purchased this fountain and took it to his house, his exclusive house in Dallas. And Jean Wallace took it upon herself to find out and look this guy up. She looked him up, found out who he was, where he lived, and talked to him and told him how important historically this fountain was to Hot Springs. So she actually talked him into giving it back to the city so we could move it back. And currently it stands, according to her, it stands 100 feet from the original location. And the person who designed this fountain designed it so that horses, keep in mind this is 1897, so that horses could drink from the upper trough and the dogs could drink from the lower trough there at the bottom. And here's a close-up of this fountain. Just beautiful. I love this sculpture of a little boy. Looks like maybe a 12-year-old boy flying his kite. And I took this photograph at the time where the cherry blossoms just bloom here in Hot Springs. This is right downtown. Well, let me go back. So if you can see those trees, if you go all the way to the back, there's a parking garage back there, a free parking garage. And at the other end, where this boy with this kite is, you will find this sculpture. Yeah, again, another beautiful sculpture. And this you find in our convention center. The convention center here in Hot Springs is the largest convention center in the state. And the individuals who were in charge commissioned this Chinese artist to install this piece. It's a beautiful, interesting, two-dimensional piece. And I understand that this is the only piece he created that's in the United States. Sadly, the artist has passed away, but we were the beneficiaries of his art. It's beautiful art. And don't forget, go to our local library because, yeah, we have art at the library. And this is just one of 3 or 4 pieces that they have here of this beautiful art. So, yeah, pay the library a visit. Or if you're in town, pay a visit so you can see some more art around town. When I drive downtown, I see our visitors, guests, any given weekend, sitting at these chairs, having their picture taken, because they're such a unique chairs of these interesting fall leaves. Very interesting and a lot of fun. This is also at the convention center. And this is along Grand Avenue here in Hot Springs. This beautiful piece is called Welcome. And it's just as you're entering the city, it's just before you enter the downtown area. So it's a great placement for this, welcoming everybody to our city. For those of you who live in Hot Springs, if you know where Cash Savers is, it's just right across the road in the little triangle. But you can easily miss it, especially in the summer when these trees are totally blooming and covered with leaves. This sculpture is hard to see, but go to the little triangle and check it out. And this, oh my goodness, this piece is absolutely beautiful. I know the artist, I have met the artist, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly here, Longhua Shu. I met him and I asked him about it. It's been here in the city since 1992. Beautiful piece called Mother Nature. The building next to it is our beautiful historic Arlington Hotel, built here in the city in 1929. And way in the background, up on the mountain here, that's Hot Springs Mountain, part of Hot Springs National Park. You see the observation tower. Now, I think you'll find this interesting. How do you think this beautiful piece of art looks from above? I got permission from the Arlington Hotel to go to the very top of the hotel at one of their exterior balconies and photograph this piece from the top. from above. And this is what it looks like from 16 stories up. Now let's take a look at some murals throughout town. We have some beautiful murals here. That beautiful mural, the Quapaw mural on the left, is by a gentleman called Pepe Gaca. He has several pieces here around town, and I believe also in one private residence here in town. I understand he spends half his life here in Hot Springs and half his life in Spain. But he has contributed some beautiful art to us, for us, including this beautiful piece of Quapaw history. And this is one of the more recent murals. I want to say this is no more than a couple of years old. It was painted along the same building where the Collective coffee shop is here in town. And if you're visiting from out of town, you got to go to Collective, one of my favorite coffee shops. I love that place. And you can see the green fountain. I mentioned Gene Wallace earlier being responsible and receiving the credit for that. And we still do it after all these years. And I just happened to have taken this photograph during St. Patrick's weekend. And this mural, by the way, is called Remember. And we have potteries here in town, right downtown or just on the skirts of downtown. And this is one of the many pottery facilities we have here, the Dryden Pottery. And as you can tell, the owners just painted this beautiful mural along the front of the pottery building itself. And this has an interesting history. There was a traveling artist here. I don't recall her name. A traveling artist. They just happened to stop by Hot Springs, and she stopped by a facility here in town we call Alligator Park. I believe that's the name of it, and it's mostly for children and adults, but we see a lot of parents take their children to this alligator farm. And this traveling artist asked the owners of Alligator Farm if she would paint one of her murals along one of their walls. So as you can see, they must have discussed it, and the owners probably said, sure, as long as you include an alligator in this mural. So there's the alligator. Another piece of art. This is behind the post office. This is at the Central Theater here in town. And this is on the wall of a nonprofit here in town called Cutwell for Kids. And the founder and the executive director of this nonprofit is Timothy Tidwell. And he created this nonprofit called Cutwell for Kids because he understands the connection between art and a young person's mind as it's developing. Let me rephrase that. The connection between art and the development of a young person's mind. He understands that. Another mural at David F. Watkins Memorial Park here in Hot Springs. And would you believe, even Walmart got into the act. Yes. Would you believe this mural of downtown Hot Springs? We have 8 bathhouses here in Hot Springs, and 2 of them are still operational as they were back in the 1920s. And Walmart has a mural in one of their Walmarts, and this is it. And even the city of Hot Springs got into the act. This was a statewide project, I understand. And part of the project was to paint a mural. All 4 walls of this building is a mural. And this is part of the city's water treatment facilities. Yeah, this is one of their water treatment plants. This is another piece of Pepe Gaga's art. And this depicts our local gardens, Garland woodland gardens. That's what this piece depicts and reflects. We have, as I mentioned earlier, a very interesting baseball history. A lot of famous players came here for spring practice. So this is sort of a commemoration of that history. I love this piece, this mural. This is along Malvern Avenue, and it depicts Black American history, its culture, and its music here in Hot Springs. And now, as of 2 years ago, now it's also part of the Henry Glover Memorial Park here in Hot Springs. And this is a combination of the Henry Glover Memorial and the history of Black American history and culture here in Hot Springs. So I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I hope that you've learned something about Hot Springs. And again, pay us a visit if you don't live here. And if you live here, check out the art around Hot Springs, Arkansas. Feel free to contact me anytime you want. I'm very open to any questions. Thank you very much. Have a great day and appreciate art.